Hey everyone, welcome to my little dilemma today. You can see here on the screen I've got the UC Universal Controller up for the Presonus 192, and over there on mic 1 you can see I've got a microphone hooked up. I've had to crank the levels up quite a bit to get a reasonable level out of it. And if you look over on the right hand side, you'll see in the main that, these are substantial levels. You can see that it's peaking up into that kind of red zone there quite easily. Yet the problem I have is when I then try to record this, that's not the kind of levels I'm getting. So if we go over to Audacity, which is the recording software I'm using, watch what happens when I play this. So the first bit you're going to hear is a recording from the Behringer UM2. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that that recording was fine. The levels come in fine. It doesn't have any software control. It does have a little gain button, which is on about halfway, and the output's up about halfway, as compared to the levels you'll see in the UC control. They're both cranked up nearly all the way, and the pre's cranked up about half the way. So without that, this is what happens. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So that was the level with just the straight output. So then if I crank them up in the Presonus 192, this is what happens. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So I can get the level up to a reasonable amount, but I really have to crank everything up to do it. And as you'll see, the meter level is showing significantly high, and that's nothing like what it's showing up in Audacity. It's still just what I'd consider a normal recording by then. So consequently, because I'm cranking this all up, I'm introducing a bit of background hum and noise. Now the real mystery is when I started doing this originally, when I first unpacked the 192 and plugged it in, it worked fine. It didn't do this. And yet I'm using the same microphones, the same everything I've set up, and I've just been scratching my head to figure out why it does it now. As you can see, the levels are quite reasonable in my universal control settings. I've cranked this up to 18 decibels. I've got this up more than halfway. I've got my main up more than halfway. So these are modest but adequate signals, but even those don't cut it in Audacity. I have to crank this up to more like 24 or 25. I have to crank this up, and I have to crank this up to start to get levels, and you can see these are way peaking, and even that only gives me a moderate level in Audacity. So I'm just wondering what's going on. You can see in Audacity, I've actually got both these hooked up at the moment, and I can actually toggle between the two audio interfaces, so the Behringer and the Presonus, and make recordings. And you can see that those are the recordings I've been using for this comparison. And this segment is just recorded straight from the inbuilt microphone. So I'm wondering if you can help me. It just seems unusual that I should have to crank the level in the 192 Universal Controller up so much when everything else comes into my recording software at a perfectly adequate level without the need to do that. So I hope you can help.